Ladies and gentlemen, my God, you are a good looking bunch of people. I had a really interesting experience with a homeless guy yesterday who taught me a lot about gratitude, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, look at this. I played a hangpan or a hand drum.
There's kangaroos there for goodness sake. Y'all from
It's still fun though. As someone who grew up in the suburbs,
You can walk right up to them.
nature.
How freaking cool is that thing? I have wanted one of these bad boys for years. I don't own this one. This was one that a friend of mine had. They cost thousands of dollars. I'm probably going to buy one at some point in my life when I save up for a little bit of money. But my God, this was fun and I was instantly addicted. Like I said, I've wanted one for years. I also had a really cool, interesting day a couple of days ago with Imogen and Bronwyn, the girl that we've been dating for almost 2 years now. We're going to celebrate our little 2 year anniversary. We got a little, beautiful experience or getaway planned. We're going to have some fun together. But she's been such a beautiful part of our life. And we went to this flower festival, as you can see in this picture here, and just had a really nice time. There are a whole bunch of people there. Everybody seemed really happy. There was a bunch of flowers everywhere. Really, really, really great experience. And it made me really grateful for my life. I used to really struggle with women and I had no idea what I was doing. I had two relationships that were very, very, very unhappy, and then a third one that resulted in a lot of heartbreak for myself and for her. And then I met lovely little Imogen, after putting in a lot of effort with my sex and my dating life and my relationship life, thanks to good looking loser Caleb Jones, Mark Manson. Those three people especially helped me. I learned a lot. I met a lot of wonderful women. I met Imogen. We dated quite a few women together, had a blast, and then we met Bronwyn, who's been such a beautiful part of our lives, and we're very, very grateful for her. All right, let's talk about this homeless experience that I had, and I'm feeling like having a chill little episode here, so I think I'm going to turn this light down. Oh, look at that. That's nice. Now it's nice in here. And maybe I'll put some nice little fancy graphic on the screen so I can kind of just chill, kick back a little bit, and not worry about the camera and me looking good. So, I met this homeless guy, or I was coming home yesterday, early in the morning, and there was a guy sleeping outside of my apartment, right next to the intercom, like where I have to enter the building. And so I was trying really hard not to wake this dude up. Really, really, really trying hard. But alas, I made a little bit of noise and he woke up. And I look over at him, I'm like, "You all right, mate?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I was like, "Would you like to come in? You can kind of chill in the lobby." It was early in the morning. It was like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It was kind of cold. And I was like, "Bro, you can just like chill in the lobby if you want to." And he was super appreciative, just such a lovely human being. I gave him a little bit of food. I gave him one of my old blankets. We found somewhere nice for him to chill and kind of have a little bit of a sleep. In my apartment building, there's kind of like a little carpeted area that's off, away from people. Hopefully no one will disturb him. And I checked on him a couple of hours later, like 3 hours later. And yeah, he'd just been sleeping relatively peacefully. And, we had a big chat for about half an hour before he went to sleep. And he was such a lovely human being, like just such a nice, nice person. And I think I won't say, I was going to say his name, but he actually told me that he has two names. One is his normal name, and his other name is his street name that he only gives to people that he doesn't trust. And so I was like, "Bro, that's nice that you trust me." So I'll say his street name. His street name was Albie, and only his top G's get to know his real name. But he was such a nice guy, and we had deep conversations about how he'd become homeless, like what he thought of people, how people treated him, and that kind of stuff. And it really made me very, very, very appreciative of everything that I have in my life. And I thought it might be a fun little episode today for us to all hang out and think about some of the stuff that we take for granted that you'll never really, or maybe very rarely ever, think about. So many fucking things that those of us who don't suffer from, I guess, mental illness and homelessness, or even if you're suffering from a little bit of mental illness, for the most part, we don't think about a lot of things and how grateful we are for them. And none of this is me saying, let's all feel ashamed about the fact that we take things for granted. No, fuck that. We're going to have a nice time and think about some gratitude and feel some peace and love and joy when we think about those things. So the very first one that comes to my mind of something that I kind of sometimes, you know, aren't always fully, or I'm not always fully grateful for, is that I always have someone to sleep. Like, how fucking beautiful is that? That I can come home at the end of the night and I can go into my bedroom. I have an entire apartment to myself. You know, lots of people don't have that. They just share a bedroom. Lots of you listening, you might be living at home or you might be living with a roommate, but most of you listening probably have somewhere to sleep. And how fucking incredible is that? That we can come home at the end of the night, we can chill in our bedroom, we can go to bed, we can sleep for the most part whenever we want, you know, working around working times and stuff like that. And we get to have a relatively peaceful night's sleep. Not just that I get to sleep somewhere, but I get to have a nice sleep. You know, I have an air conditioner. I also have a heater for when it's a little cold in winter. I have some really nice blankets. I have a really expensive bed. Oh my God, I get the most magical sleep. My room is nice and dark. I get to put earplugs in. I'm not disturbed by noisiness and stuff like that, which is something that a lot of homeless people, you know, struggle with. This guy, you know, his street name Albie, he was telling me about how he has chronic insomnia because a lot of that comes from the fact that sleeping while homeless is not always the easiest thing. If you can get some money together for a room or something, then that feels like Christmas. But most of the time, or a lot of the time, you might be sleeping in a park, in which case you're sort of worried about something happening to you. Or a lot of homeless people sort of tend to congregate around businesses and apartments, like where there's some light, you know, for safety. And what he said is, and I've heard this from other homeless people, you want to sort of wait until everybody else is asleep. Like if you're trying to go to bed at like 9 p.m. on a Friday night or something, people are going to be coming in and out of apartments. They're going to be loud. They're going to be drunk. Maybe they yell at you. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just nice to you and they ignore you. But they're going to be loud. And so you'll just keep getting woken up. And so, especially on a Friday or a Saturday night, a lot of homeless people will wait until really fucking late, like midnight or 1 a.m., before they even attempt to start going to sleep. And then you often get woken up early in the morning, especially where I live. There's a lot of people that wake up early in the morning, you know, 5 a.m., 4. I mean, I was awake at 4:30 a.m. That's how I met this dude, right? And so a lot of homeless people don't get the best fucking sleep, man. Like, especially on a Friday or a Saturday night. Like, could you imagine going your life, sleeping outside, and you're going to bed at like midnight some nights and waking up at like, you know, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., especially because the sun starts rising and you might not have a sleep mask. And some homeless people have found solutions. Some of them that I've talked to have found solutions, like they find really quiet places to go to, or some of them will sleep together in groups. I always thought that was fucking dope. Like, that's such a good idea. But a lot of homelessness, as maybe we'll talk about in a second, comes with a lot of shame, you know, sometimes some social issues, like maybe you're not great at socializing. And so you might not be trusting of other people. So you might not be in a group of homeless people. You might just be doing it by yourself, or you might feel too ashamed to make friends, you know. I've met quite a few homeless people who feel like that. They feel completely unworthy, completely like right at the bottom in terms of self-love and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that a little bit in a second. But yeah, man, having somewhere to sleep, my God, am I grateful for that. What a beautiful gift from the universe, you know, from my family, you know, from the people that love me. I'm so, so glad that I have somewhere that I can rest my little head every night and go to sleep. And on that note, warmth. Like warmth, being warm is something that I absolutely am so unbelievably grateful for. And sometimes it's something I don't really think about. I just sort of take it for granted. And again, not to feel any shame or guilt when we take things for granted. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking things for granted. We can just insert a little bit of gratitude and remember some of the beautiful gifts that we have in our life and give ourselves a little bit of perspective, especially if we're really suffering or struggling with our own problems. You know, sometimes we get caught up in our own problems and we're like, man, I don't have enough money. Or, you know, some of you might be working on your sex and dating life and there's a little part of you that's like, man, you know, I just need to get laid. It's not fair. Why did this girl reject me? And so it can be fun to sort of go through your own life and look at things through the lens of gratitude and be like, you know what? I have somewhere to sleep. I have somewhere warm that I can come to every day or most days. Isn't that beautiful? And this girl rejected me. That's okay. Like, I get somewhere nice to sleep. I'm nice and clean every night. People give me dignity and respect. This girl rejected me. It's not so bad. Like, I've got enough stuff in my life. I'll be okay. Like, it can be nice to give yourself that little perspective. Again, you know, what I said is that this homeless guy, Albie, man, he gave me such a beautiful gift, you know? I just gave him somewhere warm and a little bit to eat and something to drink and, chatted with him and gave him a bit of love. But man, he gave me something even more powerful and beautiful than that. He gave me gratitude for my own life. I'm super grateful to him and any other homeless people that I've ever talked to. Mother Teresa talked about this a lot. She used to go and feed the homeless and spend time with them and give them some love and some dignity and all of that. And when she won the Nobel Peace Prize, she literally said, like, I don't want this Nobel Peace Prize. Like, I'm unworthy of this. I'm going to accept this on behalf of the homeless, the forgotten, the downtrodden, the unloved, the people that feel unworthy, because they have taught me far more than I have ever taught them. And they have given me far more than I have ever given them, because they gave her perspective. They gave her love. They gave her an opportunity to practice her love and to love other people and to give. And giving feels really fucking good. And so she was very clear about the fact of like, I'm not doing anything special. And I'm actually the one that's benefiting more than they are. I'm doing this like because I feel fucking good when I do this. They help give me gratitude and perspective. But back on the topic of warmth, having somewhere warm to go to, it's something you don't think about, like when you have your own place or when you live with your parents or when you live with someone else. It can get quite fucking cold at night. And even with a sleeping bag and some warm clothes, you're laying on the floor. And a lot of the time, the floor is fucking cold, especially during winter. Right now, it's summer, but in the morning, or it's almost summer, I guess. But in the morning, it's still fucking cold. Like, it just is, especially at midnight. Like, I'm wearing, you can't see it because I've put stuff on the screen, but I'm wearing a beanie right now. It's kind of cold. And so just having somewhere warm to sleep, holy fuck, that's nice, man. Like, there's a reason why a lot of homeless people drink alcohol, because it gives you the illusion of warmth. Technically, alcohol actually chills your body, but it feels warm. And also, alcohol helps you get through the night and get through the day and gives you a little bit of happiness and some meaning and some self medication. And, some homeless people are alcoholic or have a little bit of an alcoholic addiction. But yeah, alcohol can make you feel a little warm, and warmth is something that we take for granted, man. Like, warmth is such a beautiful thing, being able to come home and just feel that beautiful warmth. I'm so unbelievably grateful for that. And I touched on this before, but I'm so grateful that I get to be clean. This is something that a lot of the homeless people that I talk to, yeah, they sort of struggle with. Maybe they can have a shower once a week. Maybe there's some free amenities and showers, like some public showers that they can take. But those can be a little bit harder to find depending on where, they live. But man, I get to come home, and anytime I feel dirty, I can have a shower. Before I go hang out with my friends and chill with them, I get to have a shower. I chilled with a bunch of friends last night. I got to feel nice and fucking clean when I hung out with them. And if I didn't feel clean, like, I don't know, like we fucked around in the garden, we played badminton, we had some fun with that shit. We did some cooking on the barbecue, all of which are things that I'm incredibly grateful for as well. And we got a little bit dirty. I get to go into the bathroom and have some soap and wash my fucking hands. And yeah, there are bathrooms around and homeless people can wash their hands, but it's something that I really, really, really appreciate, is that at any point I can feel completely and utterly clean. I can feel well shaved, well groomed. It's not always ultra easy to have the money if you're homeless, and if you have some mental issues and you sometimes struggle to ask for money from people. It's not always easy to keep yourself well groomed and to feel pretty. Sometimes you feel a little disheveled, and then people treat you that way because they're like, wow, this guy's messy. He smells a little bit. Maybe he's got some mental illness. I'm going to stay away from him because I don't understand him, or I feel a little bit of fear when I'm around him. And fair enough. Most people feel fear around homeless people. Fair enough. I used to. But I really appreciate the fact that I can just look sexy. I'm allowed to look like a, nice looking human being. It's something that I really fucking appreciate a lot. On the note of what I just touched on, mental stability, I am so grateful that for the most part, I mean, especially these days, but for the most part, in my life, once I worked through my depression, man, my mind was just relatively stable. I had some periods of depression. I did not handle the lockdowns and, 2020, all the COVID stuff. I did not handle that with complete grace. I was doing my best, but I had some mental issues during that time. I was very angry at the world, a little bit misanthropic, very, very, very depressed. But for the most part, I've been pretty mentally stable. And I'm very, very, very grateful for that. You know, I never really have to fight my mind anymore. I used to when I was depressed and suicidal, so I know what the pain is like. I know what the struggle is like. But I'm incredibly grateful for my mental stability and my happiness and my peace of mind. These are things that I wake up very grateful for literally every day. Something else that I had a thought about is I'm grateful for music. Imogen and I were driving in the car yesterday and we, had a little Bluetooth speaker just blasting some tunes and having a great time. And I was thinking a lot of the homeless people that I've talked to, they don't have a lot of music in their life. Like they'll hear music if there's someone playing music or, some of them have headphones, but you have to start thinking about how do I charge these headphones? Where do I plug them in? And this guy that I talked to, Albie, he didn't have any headphones or any music. He had nothing on him, And this is something that I really, really, really am grateful for. Music has played such a big part in my life and has been such a big positive influence on my life. And it's something that I really, really, really appreciate, especially if I'm feeling a little down. Sometimes I'll put on a happy tune or, I have a playlist that I call my emotional playlist. And it's just a list of songs that have made me cry, like cry tears of joy. That is like literally the entry requirement to be in that playlist is the song has to have made me cry with joy at least once in my life. And then I stick it in there. I've got like maybe 150 songs in there. And anytime I'm feeling a little sad or I'm wanting to have a little pick me up or a boost, I just put on a song from there and I feel fucking beautifully happy. Music has played such a big part in my own mental happiness and stability, and I'm so, so grateful for that. Something else that I really appreciate is the tools to not become homeless. I have like 20,000 safeguards in place before I would ever become homeless. And if I became homeless, it would be okay. It's not something that I live in fear of. A lot of people do. I'm working with one guy in my coaching group right now who has a big, strong fear of being homeless and losing his job and, his business failing and all of that. So we're helping him work through that. But I have a lot of safeguards in place, If I desperately needed money, I would do a video and I would talk to all of you and be like, hey guys, listen, here's the situation. Here's my bank account. Here's a screenshot. I'm in dire need of money. If any of you have thought of signing up for coaching, I would really appreciate if you signed up now. I will give you double the amount of coaching. I'll give you like double you'll get a whole bunch of free weeks and I'll work my ass off. Like I've done that before a bunch of times because, it's taken me quite a bit, Imogen and I quite a bit to build this business. And there's been lots of months where, especially in the past where we needed a bit of money or I guess we didn't need money. We wanted money to be able to pay the bills, And if we didn't have money, we wouldn't have been able to pay the bills. And so I did videos and gave discounts and, offered extra coaching for free and all of that. That's safeguard number one. If that failed, like if every single one of you was like, no, I'm not giving you money, bro, like good luck. Not that any of you would ever say it like that. Good luck, bro. I hope you go fuck yourself, bro. Like, but then I would reach out to my parents and be like, hey, is there any chance I could take out a loan from you guys and I'll pay you back? And I've had loans from them in the past. Then I have a friend who would give me money. Then I have another friend who would give me money. Then I have another friend that I know would give me money, though I don't think he would have no, he would give me money. There's like several people that I could borrow money from. There's a lot of stuff in my apartment that I could sell. I have backups of like photography gear. I could just sell all of that. I could sell my computer. I have a computer that I use for like VR. I could sell that. That would make, a decent amount of money. There's so much stuff in my apartment I could sell. I could downgrade my apartment and downgrade Imogen's apartment and we could live off less money. I could go around outside and ask strangers for money, which is something that some homeless people do. But this guy that I met, Albie, he didn't really feel comfortable doing that. So he didn't do that a lot, was my understanding. But I could easily do that. I have the skills of cold approach. I've approached, thousands of people. I just walk up to people and be like, hey, listen, here's the situation. I could really use some money. Could you give me like $1 or $5, if that's something that you would like to do? And I would be forever grateful. And then they would, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to offer you something in return. What would you like from me? Would you like a hug? Would you like a handshake? Do you want me to coach you for 5 minutes? Is there something that you're struggling with in your life? I am a life coach. I could give you 5 or 10 minutes worth of coaching for this little bit of money you've given me. Like I would have something to offer. And so I could easily make money by just going outside. Easily. I could make a couple of $100. I'm confident that I could make a couple of $100 in 1 hour I would basically just cold approach people and ask them if they want life coaching. I'd be like, yo, pay me $100 and I'll coach you for a couple of hours. Like, easy. I could easily pay it or make enough money to be well off, not even just not be homeless. And so there's a million other little safeguards that I have in place. My friends would let me crash on their couch. In fact, I used to have a fear of the business not working out and me being homeless. So I reached out to all of my friends and I said, hey, everything's fine. I don't need this right now. But I'm curious, if my business wasn't going so well, would you ever let me crash on your couch? And like, let's say 90% of them were like, bro, of course. I mean, one of them, I let him crash on my couch there was a period where he crashed on my couch for 6 months. And then there was another period where he lived with me for 3 months. He didn't really crash on my couch, but he lived in my apartment while he was like moving and sorting some shit out. And he ended up just staying for a really long time. So almost a year, I think it might have even been a year in total, he lived with me. And so like when I asked him, he's like, yeah, of course, you don't have to fucking ask, bro. Like, why would you ask me that? Of course you can. Dude, I stayed with you for like a year in total. Like, of course you can, bro. You can stay with me for years if you wanted to, bro. It'd be awesome. My parents would let me stay with them if I really needed to. Imogen's parents would let me stay with them and her. In fact, her mother did let us stay with her for about 6 months during lockdown because she lived in the country and it was much better than being in a city when everyone was sort of panicking about COVID and pandemics and lockdowns and stuff like that. And so I have literal proof that I wouldn't become homeless. And that is something that I'm so fucking grateful for. There are like a million safeguards in my life and it makes me feel very loved and cared for. And that is something that maybe not every homeless person feels. And so I am so grateful for that. That's the next one I was going to say. People that love me and care about me, I'm so grateful for that. I have so many friends, so many family members. I have a lot of you. A lot of you care about me and I obviously care about you. That is something that I'm so fucking grateful for. Something else, which maybe this one seems obvious, but I'm grateful for money. I'm grateful for the fact that I have the ability to buy basically anything I want. Yeah, there's lots of things I can't afford, fine. But like, there's a lot of stuff that's way above the bare minimum that I have in my apartment. If I just look around my apartment right now, there's a lot of fancy shit here. And I'm not someone that buys like ultra fancy things, but I just told you I have a separate computer for VR, for video games. How fucking incredible is that? I have some fancy lighting equipment here, which it was super cheap. It was like $20. But I get to have nice lighting when I do my podcast. This microphone that I'm talking into, holy shit, I think all the stuff combined for this microphone costs like $1,000, well, in US dollars, like $700 US. Like, that's insane. This is the same microphone that Joe Rogan and lots of other podcasters use. The camera that I have costs like $1,000 or something. This laptop costs like $1,500 US. I have so much equipment that I'm so unbelievably grateful for because I remember when I first started out, yeah, I had a cheap $30 microphone and I was kind of just using my phone to start recording. I started like bare minimum. I look around my apartment, there's so many beautiful things that I have here that I'm so, so grateful for. Even just this apartment, the fact that I live somewhere so beautiful, close to the beach, I am so unbelievably grateful for. My beautiful bed that gets me all this beautiful, amazing sleep so I can wake up the next day feeling refreshed and recharged and ready to help all of you and make even potentially more money. Not only do I have money, but I have the leverage to make more money. It's not just the money itself. I have the opportunity to make more money. And you could say homeless people do too. It's like, yeah, but when you're stuck down in shame and you don't really love who you are and you feel unworthy and undeserving and undignified, it can be very hard to get a little bit of momentum going to start building a business or something. It isn't so simple as to say, well, just get a job. Like this guy in particular, Albie, he said he suffers with OCD and insomnia, and that's the reason why he struggled to hold down a job, because he just fucking doesn't sleep. He's had insomnia his whole life. He was in the army, and I don't know if he has PTSD or if, it wasn't quite clear, but he's been through some stuff, it seems like, and he has a few mental issues, and a lot of homeless people do. That's why they're homeless. And so I used to think, back in the day, I used to be like, why don't homeless people just get a job? And it's like, yeah, bro, like they've thought of that. It's the first thing they thought of, bro. And so I used to be a little, maybe dismissive of homeless people. And if you're that way too, that's okay. Like, you don't have to feel guilty about that. My intention is not to make anyone feel guilty. Quite the opposite. My intention is to spread some goodwill, a bit of love, and, a bit of gratitude and compassion here. But the fact that I have the opportunity to make money at any point, and I know the skills, and I believe in myself, is incredible. A lot of you can take a similar lesson from this, because a lot of you feel a bit unworthy or not good enough, or you feel like you have no dignity. Maybe when it comes to dating, you feel like I am not worthy of love. I'm too short, or I'm old, or I'm bald, or I'm, if you're a woman, maybe you feel overweight, or you don't feel like you love yourself, and you feel like, who the fuck else would love me? Yeah, that's how this Albie guy and a few other homeless people I've talked to feel. They feel like they're not good enough to have any friends. They feel like they're not good enough to have a job. They feel like they're not good enough to have people just be fucking nice to them. And so that shame that we can feel, or that unworthiness, that lack of dignity that we feel in ourselves, can make it hard to get a little bit of momentum, can't it? That's why a lot of my content, I talk about just taking some baby steps. Because for some of you, if I say to you, hey, go outside and talk to, if you're a man and your goal is to meet some women, if I say to you, go outside and hit on 30 women today, you'll be like, bro, what the fuck? I can't do that. And then you'll just feel even shitter about yourself. You'll feel shame. You'll be like, man, other guys are going out there and talking to lots of women, and I'm a loser and I can't do it. That's why I start with baby steps. I'm like, just go outside and try and smile at one woman today. Just give one woman a smile and start with that. If you can't do that, that's okay. You don't have to feel ashamed about that. There's no need for shame. Instead, just think about smiling at a woman. Walk around and think about it. That's a beautiful beginning. And so I talk about baby steps because I understand the pain of shame and the inertia of shame, and how much shame can be like an anchor or a lead weight around your neck pulling you down. And shame is like the most common emotion that I recognize in all the homeless people that I've talked to. The vast majority of them feel deep fucking shame. And so there's a lot there to relate to with any of you, like I said, who feel shame when it comes to yourself and your own sex life and your own dating life. And again, the antidote is to just start taking some baby steps, which is something I talk a lot about on this channel. You can also grab my Play to Win video course if you want to. You can pay whatever you want for that, even if that's just $1. And I talk a lot about like how to improve your mindset and move out of shame. I literally talk about like the emotions, like shame and guilt and fear and anger and all of self-hatred and all of that, and how to move out of them towards a little bit more joy, a little bit more love, a little bit more abundance, like all that shit. So all of that's in the Play to Win video course. And obviously, if you're interested, my coaching covers literally exactly the same thing. More stuff that I'm super, super, super grateful for is friends. I have some friends that care about me and love me very much. I have family, obviously, that cares about me and loves me very much. Imogen cares about me and loves me very much. So does Bronwyn, the girl that we've been dating. I have a lot of people in my life that really, really, really care about me, and I feel blessed to call them friends. They've helped me with the business. They've helped me when I've been sad. They've given me a lot. And all of you. I'm so unbelievably grateful for all of you and for you listening right now. Yes, you. I'm talking about you. You give me so much love. You give me so much motivation. You inspire me when you share what you have been going through and what you have achieved. You inspire me when you share what you're struggling with, and when you dump it all out and go, Andy, here's everything I'm suffering with. I look at that and I'm like, holy fuck, this man or this woman is so courageous. Holy shit. A lot of you pay my bills. You are literally responsible for everything that I just said I'm grateful for. My beautiful apartment, all the things in it, this microphone, my camera, like all of these things, the food that I get to eat that's on my plate, a lot of that comes from, or all of that comes from a lot of you who pay me. Even if all you pay me is $1 for the video course, I really fucking appreciate that, because I see it as a sign of love. I literally feel loved when someone pays me $1. I feel a little bit of love when someone signs up for a coaching call. I feel a lot of love when someone signs up for the big hardcore coaching program, because a lot of the time those people will literally just share love. We talk about love a lot in my coaching group. There are quite a lot of coaching clients who eventually work up the courage to say something like, Andy, I love you, bro. And for a lot of guys, especially men, that can be really difficult. Some of the women that we've had in the coaching group, they find that way easier. They just express love and emotions, but some of the guys really struggle with that. And so that means even more when someone just out of the blue says, Andy, bro, I love you. Like, that means the world to me. Some of you write that in comments, like quite a few of you write that in comments. And so I feel very loved. I feel very accepted. I feel very cared for. And I'm able to then mirror all of that back to all of you and tell you how much I appreciate you. That's something that this guy I talked to, Albie, didn't necessarily have. And I tried to pour as much love as I could into him. I held his hand for a little bit. I gave him a hug. I gave him a blanket. I gave him everything I possibly could. We had a big chat for like half an hour. I gave him somewhere nice to sleep that would be out of the cold, and a little blanket and, a little bit of food and some drink. I tried to give him as much love as I possibly could. But I get that on a daily basis. That love that I just gave to him, which he seemed very grateful for and told me that he was very appreciative of. He gave me lots of love back too, which was really nice of him. He didn't have to do that, but he gave me a lot of gratitude, like a lot of gratitude. Like he told me like probably 50 fucking times. That was really nice of him. And so in that moment, he got to feel a bit of love. And there's other people that will love him. I've watched homeless people and I've seen the way, especially old ladies tend to be really nice to homeless people. And I've seen some of them like hold the hands of homeless people and, sit with them and talk to them. That always puts such a fucking smile on my face and sometimes brings a tear to my eye. And sometimes I'll go up to those old ladies afterwards and I'll be like, you're a really beautiful human being. And then they get all happy and smiley. But that love that maybe the homeless person only feels from time to time, maybe like once a week, once a month, maybe, some people a lot less than that, maybe once a year, sometimes never. Particularly if they have mental issues and they're kind of scaring other people off, which some homeless people, they don't mean to, but, they can be loud or schizophrenic or they scream or they look dirty or they look dangerous. And again, they don't mean to. But those people definitely aren't getting a whole lot of love. In fact, they're getting a lot of judgment and, people scowling at them or just staying clear of them. And so that love that they sometimes feel or maybe rarely feel, I get to feel every day. And so I'm really, really grateful for that. Something else that I'm grateful for is quiet. The fact that I get to come home to my apartment and it's nice and quiet. But when you're homeless, you might be dealing with police sirens, people yelling at you, other homeless people wanting to fight you, which by the way is a thing. There's like turf wars and stuff, maybe it's different in different cities, but at least where I live, there are like turf wars, like you can't be in this area of town. That's my homeless area. Like you can't fucking be there. Like people get their stuff stolen, because you think about it. If you have all of your life's belongings with you at all times, there's nowhere safe for you to store that. You just have that with you. And you have to hope that no one bigger comes along and takes it from you. You have to hope that no one stabs you and steals it. Like this is, and a lot of homeless people feel a lot of paranoia, and for good reason. Like, look where they are. And so they live in fear of that. And maybe they don't have the quietest, most peaceful, contemplative life. Some of them do. There's one homeless guy I know called Adam, and he's one of the most peaceful, quiet, loving people that you'll ever meet. He's pretty fucking incredible. And this guy that I talked to that I met, Albie, he was quite peaceful and loving, but, he might not get the most quiet and peaceful times in his life, And a lot of homeless people, like I said, feel ashamed of going. They feel too ashamed to go into public places that maybe you and I go to, like cafes or restaurants. They don't feel like they're good enough to go there. Some people, some homeless people don't really give a fuck and they'll go wherever. But some homeless people feel like, I can't go into a cafe. I'm dirty. I'm homeless. That's for like good people or people who are worthy, and that's not me. The same story that a lot of you tell about your dating and sex lives and your relationship lives, right? I am not good enough. I can't go on dates. I can't hit on people that I'm interested in. I can't have a relationship. I'm not good enough. You feel that shame, that same shame that homeless people sometimes feel. On that note, privacy is something that I'm so grateful for. I get to come home to my apartment and just like the door's locked. I can walk around with my dick out if I want to. I can have sex with my girlfriend here. I can do whatever I want. It's my apartment. I get some privacy. But when you're homeless, you might never have privacy. Like, think about it. You go to sleep outside a business. And then at like 6 in the morning, that business owner might wake you up, and sometimes he might yell at you. You know, I've seen people be quite unkind to homeless people, and they don't mean to. It's just that they feel shame in themselves when they see someone homeless, and they project that shame onto the other person, and that comes out as like hatred or yelling or like disgust or any of that. But it's the shame that they're feeling inside themselves when they look at that homeless person, and then they project that out. That's what we all do. We all project our emotions out onto other people. And so you maybe don't have any privacy. There's nowhere that you get to call your own place. You know, even if you feel like you have your own territory or something as a homeless person, the police at any point can come along and just kick you out, and they do. You know, that's something else that I'm very grateful for. The police don't harass me. Like, police don't come to my place of residence and be like, you need to leave. You shouldn't be here. Police don't take my name and my ID and write it all down and, like, you know, confiscate my alcohol, which might be the one thing that brings me a little bit of happiness and joy. Police don't, you know, yell at me for being dirty. Like, police just leave me alone. If anything, police are pretty fucking nice to me. You know, sometimes I smile at the police, and whatever your thoughts about the police might be, you know, I used to have a very rocky relationship with the police. You know, since I went to prison when I was 19, I think that gave me a little bit of PTSD. I think being arrested gave me some PTSD. And so I didn't always love the police, but anyway, whatever your thoughts on police, fine. But police are pretty fucking nice to me for the most part, right? Like, they don't just come up to me and tell me that I have to fucking leave the spot where I'm sitting, especially not if it feels like that might be the only place I have to get some sleep, you know? And the police are doing their best, they're trying their hardest, but some of them have been maybe a little bit unkind to homeless people that I've seen. And so, as best as I can, I will look at the homeless person while they're being sort of, you know, harassed by the police, and I'll try and give them a smile, and I sometimes give them a thumbs up, and then they smile back at me, and I'm like, okay, that guy like knows that at least someone gives a shit about him, and it's not just everyone in society thinking you shouldn't be here, you're a piece of shit, you should feel ashamed, you should just go somewhere else and not be part of this, you know, you don't belong in this city, go fucking live in the woods and just die or something. So I'm very grateful that police and society are pretty nice to me. And on that note, dignity is something I'm so grateful for. You know, Mother Teresa used to talk about how homeless people and people in poverty, it's not so much that they're missing food. Like, that's pretty easy to give. And people give foreign aid to different countries, and, you know, people will give money to homeless, which is beautiful. That's so incredible. There's people that feed the homeless with soup kitchens. That is unbelievably amazing, and I'm so grateful for that. But what's funny is it's dignity that they're mostly missing, or love. Mother Teresa talked about this a lot. She's like, the real poverty is a poverty of love, of feeling worthy, of feeling like you're good enough. And a lot of you feel that same poverty. You know, you tell yourself that you're not worthy of love, that you're a pussy, that you're a loser, that you're pathetic, that you don't deserve a relationship or you don't deserve happiness. You tell yourself, like, I'm just a piece of shit and I don't deserve any of this stuff. And I used to feel the same. And that is the real poverty. Mother Teresa talked about that a lot too. She said, you know, some of the richest people that I've ever met in my entire life, like billionaires, are also suffering from the same poverty as the homeless person on the street. It's a poverty of love. And they have all this money and they think that that will make them happy. But they're missing love. They're missing dignity. They're missing self-respect. They're missing kindness to others and kindness to themselves. They're missing some compassion in their life. And so all the money in the world can't give you those things. And so a lot of you that feel the same, like I say, it's just about taking some tiny little baby steps, and whatever your goals might be, write them down, reverse engineer them into tiny little baby steps, and just get started. And if you have nobody in your life that loves you or cares about you or is your friend, you know, I'm even talking about like friend love, you know, not necessarily romantic love. But if you feel like you have no one in your life that loves you, let's start making that happen. You know, I have articles on my website of how to make friends. You can just search my YouTube channel for friends. I talk about how to get some friends in your life, how to find people that will support you. You're very welcome to sign up for the coaching program if you want to. Like, a big function of that is networking with all of the other coaching clients that I've ever worked with and being friends with them for life and all of that stuff. But I understand that if you're someone that's down in shame, you might not have put together the money to be able to afford the coaching program. So just start with the free stuff, you know, go to meetup.com and just go to a few events and meet some people. And yeah, the more people that you can get in your life that care about you, and the more of that beautiful dignity that you can feel, the easier life is. You know, like I said, a lot of homeless people feel shame, and a lot of people make homeless people feel shame or project their own shame onto homeless people. You know, maybe they feel a little bit ashamed about the fact that there's homeless people in the first place. And some people feel very guilty about homeless people. And they will then project that guilt onto the homeless person and say, like, you're making almost like, you know, subconscious. This isn't necessarily a conscious, rational thing. But you project the guilt onto the homeless person and you hate them because they're making you feel guilty, or you feel like they're making you feel guilty. You know, you're like, I feel bad when I look at this homeless person. I feel a little guilty that I have so much in my life and yet I still complain about things. And you don't have to feel guilty about that. That's just the way that the mind works, you know. We sometimes take things for granted, but we don't need to project our guilt onto homeless people and be like, fuck this guy, he's a piece of shit. Like, you know, he's fucking making me feel bad. No. So on that note, something else I'm very grateful for is that people are nice to me. I'm very grateful for safety, and I'm very, very grateful for sex and intimacy. You know, I've had a lot of sex in my life, a lot of intimacy, a lot of physical touch, a lot of appreciation from other people. You know, Imogen in my life right now has brought me a lot of beautiful intimacy. So has Bronwyn, the girl that we've been dating. And I'm very grateful for that. And something that someone said to Mother Teresa when she held their hand and just looked after them, it stuck with me for many years. This guy said, it has been, we started to cry, and he said, it has been a long time since I have felt the warmth of a human hand. And that's something I'm very, very, very grateful for. So I am super grateful for everything that I have in my life and all the beautiful things that I get to enjoy. You know, all of these things feel like absolute gifts. And I hope it was clear that the point of this video was not to make anyone feel guilty or ashamed. You know, when, I don't know if any of you had this, but growing up, my mother would sometimes say, like, you got to eat all your food. There are kids starving in Africa, you know, almost using the mechanism of guilt there, that I'm supposed to feel guilty that someone in Africa is suffering, even though I had nothing to do with that and I'm a child. I probably can't do much to help it. I mean, I guess you could as a child. You could get some pocket money together and send it to the kids of Africa. But the point is, that is not my intention here. It's quite the opposite. You know, it's like you can use homeless people as a beautiful opportunity to, instead of feeling guilt, which just perpetuates the cycle, you know, feeling that shame and that guilt just makes you feel shitty. And then you project that onto a homeless person and then they feel shitty and we all just feel shitty. No, let's move a little bit higher up and talk about gratitude, or focus on gratitude and love and joy and appreciation. And I super appreciate all of the things that I have in my life, all of the beautiful things, you know, all of the money, all of the intimacy, all of the love and the dignity, which is probably the most, or the thing I'm most grateful for. I really appreciate all of that. I appreciate all of you. And I appreciate this guy, Albie, and the other homeless people that I've met. They are some of the most lovely, unbelievably kind, gentle, sweet people. Even some of the ones that have mental issues. You know, I've made friends, sort of made friends. I've talked to this guy a couple of times. This guy who just like goes around, I don't know if he's schizophrenic, but he just like screams at people. It's like he's mad at God or something. And he'll just go around like literally screaming at the sky sometimes. And most people avoid him, as I'm sure you can imagine. You know, and sometimes he'll even scream at me. Like one time he was screaming at me and he's like, I'll fucking kill you. Like while looking at me. And, you know, I was obviously a little intimidated by that, as I'm sure you could imagine. But I kind of just, you know, walked past him and I was like, hey man, how's it going? And as soon as I said that, it was the funniest thing ever. So he's screaming at me, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to kill you, cunt. I'm going to fucking kill you. And I was like, hey man, how's it going? And he's like, oh yeah, it's going pretty good. And I once saw this homeless dude in my old city years ago as well, who was just like barking and making weird sounds and just being weird. And I kind of walked past him and I smiled and I was like, hey man, how's it going? And he's like, and then he just snapped out of it and he's like, oh yeah, man, no, I'm going really good. Right now I'm just in Crazy Town. You know, I'm in Crazy Town right now, but it's all good from Crazy Town, bro. How you going? And I was like, I'm going good, my man. He's like, good, yeah, glad to hear it, yeah. And then I walk off and then he just keeps like screaming crazy shit again. So and obviously, like, don't feel the need to do that if you're not comfortable yourself. You know, Imogen has watched me do this a few times and she's like, I am not comfortable doing I'm not comfortable doing that. I'll give money to homeless people if they're quiet and they feel safe and not dangerous, but like, I'm not doing what you're doing, Andy. So like, this is not me advocating for going up to people who are screaming obscenities and being like, hi, how's it going? But I do find that really hilarious. You know, that's happened twice now where someone's in the middle of screaming obscenities and you're like, hi, how's it going? They're like, oh, it's going really good. It's just like, you do not fucking expect that. And Bronwyn, the girl that we've been dating, she works in a psych ward and she said it's like that too. You know, a lot of the patients that she works with, they will just be like screaming obscenities, like just absolutely off their face. And then she'll be like, hi, how are we going today? And then they just calm down. They're like, yeah, I'm going really good today. Yeah, everything's great. I'm just having a nice time. And then she'll leave the room and they'll be like, and just like back to it. So yeah, I find that really interesting. Mental illness is something that I find really interesting. Obviously, I've worked with quite a few clients that have had mental illness, like a lot. Like so many people come with, you know, the basic mental illnesses like autism, ADHD, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I've worked with a couple of bipolar people, a couple of people who were manic depressive, quite a few people who were manic depressive, obviously people that were just depressed and all of that. I myself went through depression and suicide or suicidal ideations for quite a few years. So I find all of that stuff very fascinating. I find psychology very fascinating. Anyway, I am super grateful. I am grateful for my life. I am grateful for all of you lovely, wonderful people. And if any of you can relate to any of what I just said, you know, with the homeless guy, Albie, and you feel some shame or you feel like you're not good enough or you're unworthy, I promise you are worthy of love. Every single person on this planet is worthy of love, dignity, respect, admiration. Even if you don't know it yet, I know it. I fucking believe in you.